There's real evidence that American democracy is being dismantled as the middle class is being dismantled. This will be the first generation, ladies and gentlemen, if it keeps going like it is, to do worse than their parents, economically and socially. And to me, that's a social sin. What is the truth? And what is really ethical? This is still, I think, in my view, a very great country. Let me say that again. The richest 400 families in America have the same amount of wealth as half the country, 150 million Americans. Would you guys like to have money coming back to you from the government? I certainly think a lot of us would say that would help us, even if it's a small amount. Where did your campaign money come from, Mr. or Miss Member of Congress? Where did you get your $1.7 million, which that's the average amount they raise and spend every 2 years? And if we had a universal single-payer healthcare system, like Medicare for all, like they have in Canada and like we have for our elderly people here, you would never have to worry about that, whether you're working or not. Am I right?
Yeah.
Making sure every one of our American people have a chance in life to develop fully their full human potential and their pursuit of happiness. And here's what we want. Are you willing to do this for us? Or are your hands tied by the corporate donors? My friends, all we have to do is remember our history and act upon it, and those who know their history can control their destiny. So we have to bring back justice by bringing about tax justice, by bringing about environmental justice, educational justice, food justice. Take some of that money from the defense budget, put it into people's programs here at home, and also a humane foreign policy, which includes humane foreign aid that helps build economies and helps literacy programs and gets people on their feet in other parts of the world. So it is absolutely important that we remember that and know that our history is one of struggle, of achievement of the American people over and against the powerful elites who had to give up some of their privilege to provide opportunity for everyone else. Take some of that money from the defense budget, put it into people's programs here at home, and also a humane foreign policy, which includes humane foreign aid that helps build economies and helps literacy programs and gets people on their feet in other parts of the world. This kind of gap, this concentration of wealth and income in the hands of a few, resembles more of a feudal system, not a social democratic capital system, not a free market system, but a feudal system in which lords and kings, their children inherit the wealth and they pass it on, and serfs basically do all the work. The consumer, those are the consumers, they will go out and buy more products and stimulate growth and actually make the economy hum. If we include all of the new productivity, all the productivity coming in from workers where the economy is expanded, the worker productivity factored into minimum wage would place the wage today at $18.30 an hour. The consumer, those are the consumers, they will go out and buy more products and stimulate growth and actually make the economy hum by going out and giving money into the hands of those who earn it and not letting most of it go to the hands of the big corporate owners. We will be honoring the American tradition of rewarding hard work and also of creating an economy that will be vibrant, that will grow as it did between 1933 and 1979. President Lincoln said, labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital and deserves much the higher consideration. A lobbyist, a vice president of Monsanto, has been appointed by President Obama to head the FDA's department, those departments dealing with food and veterinary. This is not acceptable. We spend now on defense the same amount of money as the next 10 countries put together. And yet members of Congress, bought by the defense contractors, the military-industrial complex lobbyists, who gave them campaign contributions and lobbied them, voted for $2.6 billion to buy more C-17 airplanes that we don't need. And this is the kind of military-industrial complex waste that President Eisenhower warned us against back in the 1950s. This government seems to be able to find money to spend the most amount on defense and on weapons and on wars around the world. Quite often they are not even necessary in any way just war or needed war. And they go into Iraq, for example, and create a whole mess that we're now having a boomerang from because George Bush and others believe that we have to stabilize Iraq in our own way and also get some way to get to the oil. I would like to see more people like that in office, but they're not there because of the corporate money buying most of the elections and most of the candidates. We're being trampled upon by the top 1%. Actually, the top 1/2 of 1% has captured almost all the new income that was generated in the last 5 years. So what exists today between the highest paid, the average CEO's income compared to the average worker is 400 to 1 today, when it was 40 to 1 just in 1980. Apple stashed $15 billion because of a legal tax loophole called the offshoring loophole in low tax haven countries like Ireland, and they avoided $15 billion in taxes last year. Do you know that a 15% severance tax on oil drilled from our ground in California would bring $4 billion for kindergarten through university and would make a big difference? Occidental Petroleum paid zero income tax in 2012 while receiving millions in corporate subsidies and had a negative tax burden. Facebook had the same loopholes made for them by members of Congress, where they paid zero income tax while making over $1 billion in profit last year, in 2012, for that tax year, and Facebook got a subsidy of $426 million from the taxpayer through the government to promote themselves around the world. When there are children today with schools, two-thirds of our schools are inadequate in terms of class sizes being overcrowded, in terms of science and computer labs being shut down, in terms of, in some parts of our country, not enough textbooks to go around. Those things are happening today in our schools while Apple and Facebook pay no income taxes. I mean, over two-thirds of Americans say the country is going in the wrong direction. And furthermore, how many million didn't vote last time in 2012? 90 million eligible voters stayed home because of lack of hope and disillusionment. In 2010, 120 million voters, that's over 60%, 65% stayed home, and it's already, they're predicting lower turnout here.
My health insurance ran out.
And it is breaking. It is putting these kids into such turmoil and stress.
Great. Thank you for the important show, and thank God for Pacifica and KPFK.
Can I suggest people, we have got to show up when these congressmen come home for their so-called gadabouts at libraries. Show up and ask very pointed questions. I always stand up and I go, I really would like health care just like yours. Or I say something about, I understand you didn't vote, or you voted in and went along with this tuition deal so that kids are held accountable and they can't get out from under.
And I'm paying $1,000 a month on my $60,000 student loan, so I'm paying $1,000 a month, and then I can't anymore because I'm not working. In addition to the $76,000 I now owe on the student loans, from which I borrowed $60,000,
Yes.
I have, dental bills.
We don't have a democracy. We have proto-fascism. Mussolini himself said the definition of fascism is when corporations and the government intertwine. We have to get corporate money out of politics. We need a system that works for the people, not enslaves them. If we had state banks in every state, plus we had municipal banks with solidarity, yes, people on the left and right fight, but we can all agree on one thing, that we need a system that works for us. Thank you.
But what I'd like to mention is this money for minimum wage, it would be coming from bonuses. Is that so much to ask, like the Walmart people, when they're making billions and billions of dollars in sheer profit every year? It's not like the money should be coming from anywhere else but from out of their profit. And I want to emphasize that because I think people don't understand where the money should be coming from. It would be cutting into their profit margin. The other thing is I find appalling why we've got to all get together, by the way. It just can't be someone like me and the previous callers calling in, because I'm tired of talking about this. I'm thoroughly versed in social policy. I've been since I was a child, and it's just time for action. I just can't take any more of this inequality.